All right, and we are live. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. I'm
Hey,
Dash Attack, and I'm here with my friend Culture Casino.
hey guys. Yeah, I'm glad to be here. It's going to be a good
Yeah,
time.
thank you so much for coming on.
You bet.
I
You bet.
yeah. So, yeah, remember, I believe we first met on the Geeks and Gamers forums back when I was hanging out there.
Oh yeah, yeah, long ago. Yeah, right when they launched, right before they launched premium. Yeah, absolutely. I was actually one of their first, if not their first, premium subscriber over there. So yeah, I do
Oh,
I do
cool.
remember. I do remember. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Uh,
yeah, I've loved coming together with a lot of different people that I've met through Geeks and
yeah.
Gamers and other parts of the fellowship. So it's really cool. We all especially when we get to hang out in person, like a lot of people are already doing at the MegaCon in Orlando right now. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. I heard something about people doing a meetup. I heard I Mike was I don't know, Mike and Loki like did a were at what's
They were at the
Nashville.
ICCC. Yep, ICCC, the International Collector Convention, or Comics Collectors Convention, ICCC. Yep, and
Oh
that
yeah,
that was one of the things I wanted to try to get to. It just didn't work with my schedule, and I was going to try to make it to MegaCon. Obviously, I got sick, so I didn't end up.
I haven't been to a con in so long. I even like just before COVID, I actually got my first like there was this anime I was really into. I got this cool military uniform from that show, and then COVID happened, and I've still never worn it.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so yeah, the only costumes I own is a Anakin Skywalker costume I got for the Force Awakens, and that, and I haven't worn that.
Wow! I
Yeah,
love
so
I love some of the cosplay stuff that you see at the conventions. It's pretty amazing.
yeah,
I don't know. I have a
okay.
handful of those types of things. I mean, I've got at least two or three different Star Trek uniforms and
Oh,
stuff.
it's
So
always really
yeah.
yeah. Well, anyway, we got some things to talk about.
Sure.
So I did
Yeah.
see
Well,
you said you
anyway,
didn't see
we got a
Doctor Strange. Oh,
Oh, sorry.
I'm
That
echoing.
was my fault. That was my fault. I flipped over just to make sure I didn't have it on, and I did. I apologize. Anyway,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
you
So
were saying you did get to see Doctor Strange.
yeah, I did see Doctor Strange because I have this old this very old theater. They actually shot parts of The Irishman by this theater. It's
Oh wow.
called the Loft. Actually, I probably shouldn't say because I'll
Dox yourself.
yeah, and
Mm,
that's the whole. That's one of the reasons why I keep anonymous. But I've been so worried about like with how crazy people are in this day and age. Like it's just like even if I could be as milk toast as possible, and then some psycho could come after me or
well,
try and like get my job over like something stupid. So you never know. I do think things are getting bit better, but things aren't completely better yet. And so until they get completely better, I just want to be as safe as possible. And that's why
and
I paid for the VTube model, which you saw in my video when I was talking about the Netflix memo. It's a
yeah,
really cool. The people who made it are very talented. It was money well spent, in my
right.
opinion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like a lot of VTube stuff. I mean, originally, I don't know if you know this, but originally I was never going to be on camera. I had my own little like VTuber presence that was kind of a robot. I had a voice changer to do all my vocal stuff and everything else. And my very first video or two was a movie review with this virtual entity.
Cool.
Yeah. And that didn't last very long because I learned a valuable lesson. I can maintain a certain level of anonymity. And by the way, that got shot all the heck after about 3 to 5 months. But anyway,
Oh,
I could stay somewhat anonymous for the most part. But eventually, as the bigger you get, the less anonymous you're going to be. People are going to figure out who you are. They're going to figure out, what you've done, if you've, in over the course of your life, et cetera, et cetera. So,
oh Jesus.
yeah, so
That's not.
at a certain point, you just have to be ready for that to happen. So, hopefully it doesn't happen to me substantially until I'm about 10K or more, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, I hope it doesn't. I mean, my tracks are not very well placed. Like, if you can,
Oh,
people could, yeah.
Hmm.
And I've done a lot of different things like over the years. Like, I mean, like, I've definitely I'm one who has taken advantage of anonymity, and like I think wasn't Elon also like talking about the importance of no what internet anonymity when because
yeah.
didn't Mike Huckabee was saying like that they shouldn't be, and then like Elon was like no.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what Elon wants to be able to do is to just make sure that you are actually an entity, a person, rather than a
Yeah,
bot. And
absolutely, because
his goal ultimately is to allow for that. I mean, you have to preserve that. Especially in consider this. I mean, he gets away with saying what he says because he has a certain amount of money, right?
yeah,
But
he floated.
not everybody has that kind of liberty or ability, and they can be
No,
shut down because they can feel like they could be easily threatened out of their positions because of what happens, as far as the tribalism in the modern culture right now, which
yeah,
again,
it's very scary. It's very
yeah.
unfortunate. I've seen this like going on. Like I've seen the world change before my eyes. Like and
Oh yeah.
it's a scary thing. But I do think we're heading in the right direction. I
Oh yeah.
do. And one of the things that I told Mike was that like I want to give like people hope. Like
Yeah.
I want to give people like like I'll report, I'll make fun of stuff when they get a show wrong or if they screw something up, but like
Right.
I'll also do game streaming.
Yeah.
it's not all going to be doom and gloom all the time.
Yeah, we leave that to the folks over at Bounding
Yeah,
into
because
Comics.
like thing is, I want.
Did I lose you? I think I lost him. But yeah, we leave that kind of stuff over to our friends over at Bounding into Comics with their Black Pill streams and their news coverage and everything else. So, but there is a lot of reason to have hope. I agree with you 100%. I think there is. I think there's signs everywhere that there are people waking up, coming to the realization that that they can actually affect change. And there are people doing it in their local communities, and that's the first place to start. You always have to start local. Start in your own neighborhood. Start in in your own school board. Start at your own PTA meeting. So that's one of the most important things is to remain positive in light of any adversity. Always look for the opportunity to find your way out of it. I think that's admirable. One of the things I like to watch from time to time to cheer myself up are the streams that have creators that give away money or food or more. I think something like Mr. Epic or something recently gave away like a whole stack of skateboards. So there are a lot of very positive things, a lot of things we can point to that are very positive. But when it comes to this kind of thing, yeah, remaining positive, having a positive take on some stuff, not always diving into the black pill. That's an also
Yeah,
an
yeah,
admirable thing.
absolutely. Unfortunately, I missed some of what you said because my internet got
Oh, It's just more to that effect. Yeah, no, it's okay, and that's fine.
Yeah, hope
But
that doesn't happen again.
no worries.
Oh, yeah, no, it's
I'll
just
just
weird
keep
2 times
talking.
in a row.
Dash. I will just keep talking, so don't worry about it. So, but
Yeah,
but no, I
yeah,
like you said that I was basically saying to the audience while you were away that that's admirable because being able to throw some positive out there in the world right now is good, and it's one of the reasons why I was talking about some of the creators that I watch from time to time to give me a positive boost. They're channels that give away money like around the holidays and stuff. They just
like
give people money.
I know Jay is very big on giving to charity. Like
Yeah.
I really like Jay a lot.
Yeah. There are philanthropic channels out there that literally set up circumstances. I was saying during the time you were gone, there's I was watching one the other day where a guy just basically went to a skate shop and bought out the entire skate shop, and then he went to the skate park and gave the stuff away.
Wow.
Yeah, and then he went to another park because there weren't enough people there, so he went to the next skate park and gave stuff away, and then he went to another skate park and gave stuff away, like decks and wheels and trucks and the grip tape, the whole 9 yards. I mean, it was very cool stuff, bearings and everything. I was like, this is truly amazing. So I'm, like I said, I mean, there is a lot of room for a lot of different kind of content, and even on your own channel, I will do very positive stories from time to time. I like, for example, the 6 Minute Daily Show that I do, during the weekdays.
Yeah, I watch that sometime.
I try to throw a positive story or two or three in there while I'm going through all of the dismal news of the day, because most are pretty dismal. Occasionally there's good entertainment stories out there, but there are times when it's just like, wow, this is rough.
Yeah, like have you seen this Halo show?
I knew from the very beginning because I'd seen some of the writing around it. I won't say what exactly, but I knew what it was going to be. And basically I pulled the ripcord before I even got there. I'm a huge Halo fan. I remind you, when Halo came out on the original Xbox, I was one of those dudes that was holding LAN parties at the house.
Yeah. Mike was telling me about the LAN parties he would host. I mean, I got in at Halo 2. I was like 13 at the time, or like 12, like not even 13. I was definitely like too young to have an M-rated game, but I got it because it was like the biggest thing at the time.
Game.
And Halo 2 was like one of the biggest sequels ever. Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite games is Halo 2. And so, yeah, I knew there was going to be changes. I knew they didn't cast like the characters as they're depicted.
Right.
But I at least thought like they have to get the themes and the characters right. Yeah. And they seem to like be completely skirting around that. Like Master Chief isn't who he's supposed to be. Captain Keyes, being okay with killing a child, that's not Captain Keyes. No. It just, everything is just like wrong. Like this over focus on the UNSC and less on the Covenant's war crimes. It's
well, and John, and changing John 117 was a problem. And taking off his helmet. See, this is the problem, right? Is sometimes as an actor, like you're gonna wear makeup, and it's gonna obscure your face, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And if you are an actor worth your salt, you're going to carry off that. Like, I'll give you an example. One of the weirdest dudes in the world, but one of the best actors at the time was Andy Serkis. Because here's a guy who dove deeply into a character that would never be a physical representation of himself in film, right?
Yeah, he basically one of the first really big CG performances of all time in one of the most memorable and beloved trilogies of all time.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't think people realize that when they look at Gollum, you know, I mean, obviously you and I know who this is, but but people don't recognize that's an actor. The guy acted his butt off. He was so good at what he did. His performance came out through a CGI character, and he's remembered for it by people who are somewhat astute when it comes to films, right? And it launched his career in other ways for him to get other roles, right? I mean, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was recently, I think, in Black Panther. He was Killmonger. Is that the name of the character? I don't remember the name of the character.
No,
Not
no, he
Killmonger.
was Snoke. He was Snoke from
Yeah.
Star Wars.
Well, no, but wasn't he also? Wasn't he in? He was in Black Panther. He was the arms dealer in Black Panther.
Oh, was he? Oh, yeah. I guess he was.
Yeah, he's been in a lot of stuff, and I always like I said, I mean, I look at Tom Hardy in his portrayal of Dredd, right? You don't have to take your helmet off to be a character. You're to be an actor. Man, it's one of the reasons why I lost respect for Pedro Pascal, you know, because he's the one that insisted that he do, you know, all this acting with his helmet off, you know.
Yeah, and he pushed for that, and it looks like I don't know, it's quite possible. Let's see, Pablo Schreiber like went even further than Pedro did in getting that.
I'm not sure he was the right choice for John, but maybe, or Master Chief, whatever you want to call him. But I just, you know, in looking at the lore, you're right. I think I knew they were going to screw up the lore, and I knew they were going to put a bunch of Game of Thrones type of crap into it, and that's exactly what they did. And that's not what this world is about, and it doesn't appeal to the gamers, the people who've been invested in this franchise for any period.
I mean, it doesn't even mesh with the books. Sure, they borrowed some books and they borrowed some book characters. Like, you know, Halsey was a book character before she appeared in the games.
Right.
But like, you know, they even got like her wrong. They made her more evil.
Well, right. Yeah. And then you also, I mean, you have the departure in the appearance and the characterization of Cortana, right?
Yeah.
You have significant changes there, and you know, and then you make, you know, you add a lot of themes that are not in any of the lore to a show, and this is the problem with writing today. You have the modern year concept, you know, this ideology that everybody needs to identify with something. I'm like, nobody ever had any difficulty identifying with anything ever in history.
Well, right? I think if anything, like Halo is very identifying. Like, you know, you have like a diverse, like, you know, humanity, like, you know, it's the future. You have like, you know, you're the brink of extinction, like, you know, a threat that like we can hardly fight, but we just so happen to have this one guy and a few others that can actually fight them head on. Like otherwise, like we're completely screwed. And that resonates with people. That's a resonating like theme, and like that should have been the tone for the entire show.
Oh, I agree with you. I mean, it's the same thing that they're going to do with Mass Effect. I mean, you're going to have the same approach, you know, put in place, whether or not Mass Effect ends up as a TV or a film series.
But I mean, hopefully it's it's executed a lot better than Halo. But Mass Effect, you know, had like, you know, all the diplomacy and politics in it. So and the sex. So it might fit better there in Mass Effect. But like, you know, this stuff is not Halo. Like Halo isn't about Master Chief like having sex or like while Cortana. They how did they not laugh writing that? How did they not laugh?
I honestly can't speak to that. I mean, if Amazon, I don't know. I don't know. All of these entities, whether it be Paramount, Amazon, Sony, whatever. I mean, let's just be honest. Game adaptations are hard.
Yeah,
You know,
and they
and
made
even
it
if
10 times harder.
yeah, exactly. And even if you have tons of money, I mean, I will point towards the World of Warcraft film.
Yeah,
That
I
was
saw that.
terrible. Again, you have to understand the lore. You have to be telling a story that goes within the lore. You have to know the characters that you're trying to portray. You cannot deviate from what the fans accept as the traits of a given character. And I think that's where all of these go off the rails. I think Uncharted was unsuccessful. As for not unsuccessful. That's probably a strong take. Not very profitable because it didn't lean into what the games were. It tried to go as a prequel
Ah,
to the games, and you had Mark Wahlberg, maybe playing a character he shouldn't have been, and Sully. He shouldn't have been Sully. I mean,
yeah.
there's a lot of things that were screwed up there, and you
Yeah,
want to go ahead.
I've played Uncharted 1 and 2. I still need
Yeah.
to play 3. I have the collection on my PS4. And I think I'm just going to stop at 3 because I hear 4 is when Druckmann entered the picture.
Yeah, 3 was very good, and then 4 fell apart, in my opinion.
Yeah, because
That's in
Druckmann
my opinion.
because
Well,
yeah, because Druckmann's a terrible writer.
he pushed out Amy Hennig. You know,
Yeah.
Henning went on. Do you know where Henning is now?
Where is
Henning's
she?
over. She's working for Skydance now.
Oh, wow, that's where John Lasseter is.
Yep. Yeah. Laster's Skydance Animation. Henning is Skydance Games or whatever. Yeah, you're
They have a
seeing.
games division?
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Yeah, you're seeing massive changes. Skydance is going to be quite the player, and if I'm not mistaken, that's Larry Ellison, the guy from Cisco. I think that's his thing. Oracle.
Oh,
Oracle. Yeah. Yeah. I just said.
not
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. So, but it's. I mean, I'm always looking. I guess I'm weird, but I'm always looking at where people came from and their pedigree, and I can usually make an assessment about what's going to come out of whatever somebody is doing. The same thing works in every industry. The gaming industry, right? If you worked at early Rockstar as like a story or narrative designer, right? I already know that you have solid bona fides because Rockstar made such great games for such a long period of time that were very well done as far as narrative storytelling goes. So I know that when you move to another game studio, there's a very good chance that what you are involved on, especially if you're a lead, because if you move from Rockstar somewhere else, you're going to do really well there, and you'll be in a position of authority. I feel like that person's going to do a good job, but because there's no meritocracy right now in a lot of these industries, whether in any entertainment industry, because there's not a support of that any longer, it's really absent knowing somebody's pedigree. You're going to have a hard time picking winners because most of them are going to be terribly done because nobody has any experience.
That's what's like, like the priorities are all screwed up. Everyone's focusing on as the drinker says, the message.
The message. Yeah, I agree. Drinker's not wrong. I mean, I'm not sure how deeply into the political side of it you want to get, but
I want to try light, but it's probably, I agree with most of what you
So the problem is when you lean too heavily, it doesn't matter in which direction, right? You lean too heavily into some political ideology in your storytelling, you're going to alienate your audience. If you try to make something too relatable to the modern day, to the world outside your door, outside the window, outside the theater, whatever, you're immediately alienating a portion of your audience, because that's not why they came to see your thing. That's not why they're sitting down to watch your thing. That's not why they're wanting to play your game. They don't
Yeah.
need that. They want the walk away. They want the escapism. That's what entertainment is supposed to be.
And
And that goes back to even the more violent tendencies that we had as human beings when we used gladiator type of sport as entertainment. You were never going to be standing, in your sandaled feet on the sandy floor, facing down a lion. That was never going to be you, but you got to watch man versus beast, or man versus man, or men versus men. And that was, for as brutal as it was, a form of entertainment. Of course, we evolved far beyond that, but entertainment is always meant to be an escape. And guess what? You could put yourself in somebody who didn't look like you very, very easily. Again, one of my favorite characters that I often identified with when I was younger was Blade. Blade's a black guy. Okay,
yeah,
Blade's awesome.
I love Blade. I freaking love Blade. I loved Static Shock as a kid.
Yes.
I watched. I was like, okay, I was kind of in the camp that Terry McGinnis was Asian. Like, a lot of people did. I know he probably wasn't, but then I heard like this one guy actually did make him Asian in some recent comic like an Elseworld story. And I heard there was I think there was a Bounding into Comics article about it. But the thing is, I always thought he was Asian anyway, so
so it didn't matter.
Yeah. But anyway, but what you're saying is like absolutely right. If you're a good character, you're going to identify whether you're gay, like whatever, like like I mean, like.
You didn't dive too deeply into Blade's sexuality. You know what I mean? You didn't have.
No. I think it implied that he got with the one girl from the first movie, but nothing really happens because she's not in the sequel.
Yeah, and it's the same thing. I mean, you get hints and nuances. I mean, you can dive into vampire lore. I mean, that's really easy for me to do. Interview with a Vampire, the Anne Rice books, everything else. That left nothing to the imagination as far as their fluidity when it comes to that stuff, because they've been around for so long. But at the same time, it doesn't. It didn't matter. You could still identify with a character who maybe didn't have the same preferences that you do, and that's the difference now. Between then and now, we don't have quality storytelling any longer. That will still allow people to identify with something, even if it's not directly aligned with them, because now it's so ham-fisted when it's handed to the audience. And that's not great.
You want to know something, Culture, is that even the people who like, are women, who are black, who are gay, they don't identify with those characters either, because like, everyone's an individual. And like, so like you're trying to make everything like a blank slate. Like, that's not how you what would what gay people who would want, who aren't into identity politics, like, I follow some of them on Twitter, like, I'm of course straight, but like, they want good characters. They want good stories. Like, that's what they really want. That's what people really want.
And I think that sorry, I had to cough.
Did I get cut off?
No, it was me. I had to drop for a second. I had to cough. So, but
okay.
Yeah, no, I am sorry. I'm getting over the coof. So
you got the coof too? Yeah, I had that like about last year. Yeah, it's not fun.
Yeah, no, I'm getting over it. It's fine. But no, but I don't know. I mean, so when it comes to Halo, we'll bring it back full circle to what we were talking about.
Full circle.
Yeah. You needed, well, Halo, it's full circle. You needed
Yeah.
you needed it to be good from the very beginning, and it just wasn't.
Yeah.
I've been told by people they were turned off in the first 15 minutes.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I've heard some people say, like, that they like the first 15 minutes. I mean, like, I do think whoever designed the props did their job correctly.
Mhm.
It's the
Yeah.
stupid writers, like the props and stuff that all looks like Halo. They did a fantastic job with
Mhm.
that. But like, like you can have all the best actors and all the best, like, throw as much, like you said, you can throw as much money as you want, but if people can't connect with it, like, then it's not going to be for anyone.
Well,
That's
you can
why
have, but you can have epic set pieces, right? You can have things that look incredible, and all of that stuff can be right, and everything about the production design can be right, and everything about the special effects can be right, and all of that, and yet something will still feel wrong because it's poorly written. The primary example of that in a franchise I love is Indiana Jones, where right now I am not convinced there is a fourth film, even though I may have seen it.
yeah, I know the crystal skulls years later.
Set
I,
pieces, great. Special effects, great for the most part, except for that weird vine swinging raft thing weirdness.
it's been so. I mean, the only time I've seen it was in the theater.
Oh wow. Well, good for you for not poisoning yourself with it a second time. But sorry, I'm one of those people. I mean, I'll be, something will be on and I'll get sucked into it again, even though I know it just sucks rocks. But I just you can do everything right and right just so poorly that you destroy something, because as you said, you can have the very best actors, you can have them playing the very best version of their character, and you can still make a complete pile of garbage. It can be done.
Yeah, like I think this Doctor Strange is a good example. Like Strange
Ooh,
coming off of Endgame and Infinity War, like and even Spider-Man, though like he did get his ass kicked in Spider-Man, but
yeah.
but still he didn't what he's like, very popular character, and like, and he was vital to the Infinity War saga. I mean,
Yeah.
Endgame is named after something he said in Infinity War.
Yeah.
He said we're in the end game now. So
Yeah.
like the whole thing is his plan coming into fruition.
Yeah. Yeah, because he only saw one way out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he told Tony that what it was going to take, and that was that. And here's the interesting thing. So if Tony Stark, who started this whole thing off for the MCU, if he is a C-list character, which he is in the comics, sorry folks, it's the truth. Doctor Strange was a D-list character. I don't think most people are prepared to hear that because they don't understand the comics. But as much as I loved him when I was growing up, as much as I thought he was one of the coolest ever, and the art behind him was amazing and everything that went on with that, I never thought he would translate well to the big screen, and I was wrong. They had a great actor in Benedict Cumberbatch. They had a very good first film with him, right? You can say
Yeah.
what you want to about Tilda Swinton, right?
Oh yeah,
Um,
like she got caught committing like crimes and stuff. I Mr. H has been talking about her.
Tilda Swinton? No, 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 no. I'm talking about the
Oh
not
oh
not. No, I'm talking about the actress that portrayed
oh yeah, the one
the
who
Sorcerer
the
Supreme. The
oh
Sorcerer
yeah,
Supreme.
yeah, her. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
Tilda
think
Swinton.
she did a good job, even
I
though
think
like
she
we
did
know
a
why.
yeah.
We know why that role was changed. Like, they wanted to get the film in China, but like, she still did a great job. And it was, and I smiled when she popped up in Endgame.
Yeah, yeah. I think she did a fine job. Yes, the character was changed, but overall the writing was good. The things around it were somewhat preserved. Yes, there was a deviation in character. Yes, it was slightly different than well, not slightly. It was very different than the comics, and that's fine. What they did do, though, is they incorporated that very well into an overall plan to get to the big bad. And I was actually surprised it was Thanos, at least that the way that it was laid out. I thought there was something else more compelling that was going to be showing up.
Like I'm not a big I just know a lot of people who are into comic books, so I pick stuff up. So I'm guessing you were thinking Galactus.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
And it was a great guess. Look, I'm going to tell you something. As somebody who's trying to quit Disney, I still have opportunities to do some stuff around Disney, right? And I recently had an opportunity to actually do something around Disney here, which is probably why I got sick, because of traveling as much as I had been. But there is actually a representation of a big bad in the new roller coaster at Disney World that we will probably be seeing in the near future in the MCU. So, that new roller coaster, the Cosmic Rewind, features a pretty good big bad. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody. You can go on YouTube and check it out for yourself. But
I think I saw an advertisement for it. There was a new Doctor Strange attraction.
Yeah, it's actually Guardians. It's actually Guardians, but it has it has a lot of the stuff in it that you will recognize. And they do. It's interesting. Disney knows how to take advantage of the moment, but they most of the time do it in a very poor way, or at least recently.
The thing I've been noticing with Disney is they're very good at the bait and switch. They're very good. And then even if it's going to be a bait and switch, they'll still suck you in because they'll pull all the right heartstrings.
Right.
They'll pull all the right heartstrings, and they'll get you in. And then sometimes it's good, Spider-Man: No Way Home. But I'm in the it was Sony camp as far as that film is concerned.
Well, I want Sony's side of things to be good, but honestly, they are not giving me a lot of confidence in doing good things. So we'll see. I mean, if they can actually get the Kraven thing right with Aaron Taylor Johnson, maybe that'll be good. We'll just have to see.
Go
ahead.
Oh yeah. I have a lot of faith, because I'm one of the few people who liked the first Jurassic World. I love Jurassic World. But, I've seen Drinker's review. He said it was derivative, and that it copied some plot points from the original, but right. Just not as good. And he'd be right. But the thing is, it had been years since the first Jurassic Park, and people didn't like 3, and right. And also the thing is, it introduced 2 new things into the mix, and I think one of them worked, and one of them maybe not so much. And those 2, that one thing is an open park that increases right. the danger, that increases the spectacle. You see, maybe everyone was wrong. Maybe dinosaurs can be maintained. Maybe they have an open park running, which is something Hammond right. never had.
Right.
And then and then they take it to the next level with this, with gene splicing and creating new life. And then that's what ultimately takes down the park.
Right. Well, when
actually, I was wrong. The third thing was the thing with Owen Grady, Chris Pratt's character, this whole raptor whispering stuff that's been carried throughout all the films. Right. And that's it's I'm definitely I'm very interested. I know I know Trevorrow has said some very fan positive things on his
Mhm.
Twitter, and I know he was kicked off Star Wars for a reason. And I do believe he's going to do what like J.J. Abrams didn't do in Rise of Skywalker, and
Oh
he's
yeah.
going to. I think the movie's going to be even longer than the previous ones. Probably enough time to wrap everything up.
Well, I can tell you that based on what I've heard from people who've seen Dominion, they are very, very positive on it.
Oh, that is great. That is great.
So,
Oh, I'm so happy.
there are some shortcomings that'll probably be cleaned up before it hits theaters, but no, it's very positive out there for the film. So don't sweat that. For the most part, that's what I've been hearing. Um, the nice thing about the cast for that film is they're all quality actors. You believe them in their portrayals of the characters.
Oh, Sam Neill. I love Sam Neill.
And you're really going to enjoy everybody in this film, from what I'm to understand. So I'm looking forward
Oh,
to it. Okay. I mean, I'm a little. I always approach the stuff where they mix the old with the new with a little trepidation, because I'm
yeah,
always like,
because a lot of times it's not good or not executed well.
yeah, or you're screwing something up, right? I mean, we watched that be done on, like, in 4K in front of our very eyes on multiple Star Wars films.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
you
true.
know, don't do that anymore.
Oh,
Because
there's a good
you're
time to
destroying.
play the clip. I'm going to play the clip.
We've decoded the intel from the First Order spy, and it confirms the worst. Somehow Palpatine returned.
That's what happened.
Yes.
Not only did the theater laugh, but I mean, there were so many different, like, moments in movies that are exactly the opposite of what the creators wanted to have happen. Like when Thanos knocks Captain Marvel, like, for a loop, that
Yeah.
tremendous cheer. When it's like, that's not what they wanted to have happen. And you had people booing, the whole, Ray Skywalker line at the end of the film. They knew it was coming, and yet they booed. They booed a film that, these people had waited for multiple decades. If you're my age, I mean,
Yeah.
consider that I saw the original film when it was Star Wars, not any other bologna sausage. It was Star Wars. That was the name of the film, and it was
Nice.
in the
My
theater.
uncle saw it. Star Wars in the movie theater.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm that old. I mean, most people are like, "You're not that old," but I am that old. And so I saw that movie, and then I made family members take me to see that movie at least once a month, if not every weekend, since the
Oh
first time
wow.
I saw it. And the reason being is I mean, that's how important Star Wars to me. It was the very first impactful cinematic experience I ever had.
It's just
And
the first New Hope is my favorite of the original trilogy, and it probably always will be. Like everyone is going to always say like Empire. Now, I think the first one was yeah, but Return of the Jedi's ending, like especially if you watch all the Lucas films, like with the prequels, it really hits home.
well, and
I'm a big I was always a big prequel guy defender because that's I'm one of the prequel kids, you know.
right. Yeah.
you know but but yeah, so like
I
when the Force Awakens was like doing all that stuff with like the red letter media, like trying to like get that crowd, that really disconcerted me because it really felt like they were just taking a massive shit on George Lucas.
Yep. And they did. And they did to the they did up until 2 days ago, or even I guess less than 48 hours ago was when Kathleen Kennedy said, "Yeah, we're not doing that again." Yeah, because you effed it up. You made Star Wars not fun anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, admitting that. I mean, yeah, we know we've been saying that since you started this bunch of shenanigans, lady.
And you called us all a bunch of names, and you had made Stephen Colbert yell at us, and then you invited him to Celebration. After he called the fandom all these nasty names.
Yeah, she is the worst. She's one of the worst human beings to ever be put in charge of a major franchise.
The Last Jedi really sucked me into this whole YouTube thing. Like that really was like. I mean, I was disheartened with it.
Yeah.
In fact, I think I even like almost like tricked myself into like really liking The Last Jedi when I came out, even though no one clapped at the like literally people clapped at the end of every Disney Star Wars film, but they did not clap for Last Jedi, like because it did feel like walking out of a funeral.
Well, I did. What's weird is after the first film, that it felt that way to me. This is the weirdest thing, right? You leave that first film and you're like, oh, that was really familiar. They did a lot of, they reached back and did a lot of touchstones from the original thing.
It was just New Hope.
Exactly. I didn't like the way it ended. I didn't like the moments there. That was really disturbing. Not the best way for a hero to go out or whatever. But you're like, but it was, it felt very like Star Wars. Maybe I'm being overly critical. And as time went by, like 2 weeks after you saw the film, you weren't inspired to go see it again. You didn't spend more money to see Force Awakens again. And if you did, it was trying to figure out what is it that's bothering you about the film. And I was like, this film was the beginning of destroying everything.
Well, I actually worked at a theater at the time, so I did get to see a second time for free.
Wow.
That was, yeah.
You have fortitude, my friend, beyond what I would have had.
Honestly, like the second viewing was not like fun because like once you realize it's just A New Hope, then I started picking up like all the stuff, because everyone was talking about the flaws in Rey's character. But I think the reason people liked Force Awakens was because the setup like opened the doors for some things like interesting, and then we know how that ends. Rian Johnson, like JJ assumed, I guess the next guy was just going to like come up with something amazing, and then his film would he'd somehow take credit for that genius. And Rian Johnson was like, nope. and now JJ has egg on his face.
JJ is a cultural locust of the
absolutely
of the top order. The man has never begun anything that he's ever been able to finish, and when he does try to put a finish on it, it's incredibly unsatisfying. He is not. He's not good. He's not a good storyteller. He's a seat of the pants guy. He can get things started, but he has no way of getting you a middle and an end. He just can't.
Westworld season 1 to Westworld season 2. Now they actually are having a 4th season. Like there are people that actually watched it past season 2 or finished season 2. I didn't finish season 2.
I did, and then I actually finished season 3, but I also did them for my channel, not because I was enjoying them. I was just destroying it. But it didn't take any effort to tear it down. I mean, calling out all the problems with it as it went. That's the other thing. I mean, it is so easy to pick apart, these modern stories. They all have the same tropes. They all utilize the same plot points, the same beats. You can predict what's going to happen episode to episode. You know, given the setup, you are in a position where you can just well, you can basically just call out what the next thing is going to happen
Yeah,
because
it's
it's just
because
it's excessive. And again, they get people who are joyless in life, you know, and but we're about to see another one of them be exposed. Evan Rachel Wood, um,
who's
uh,
she?
she is the blonde lady in Westworld.
Oh
You know,
yeah,
the protagonist, right? The or whatever.
Dolores. Yeah, I know the
Dolores.
actress is not a nice person, but you
Yeah,
know, I liked season one Dolores, and
she
in
was
season 2
very
Dolores, season 2 Dolores is a monster.
well. And again, she was written that way. I mean, you can blame Joy for that, but that's not even the point. You have she's a terrible human. Tessa Thompson is a terrible human.
Oh,
Um,
don't get me started on Telsa. I
you,
mean, like,
you
I
have
don't think I'll have any problems, like, you know, resisting going to see Thor 4, so long as, like, you know, just seeing the shot of her in the man suit is just enough. Like, you know, there's no
she's
reason why she needs to be called king other than Disney wants to just challenge, like, everything. It's just, you know, like, they want to get ahead of woke. Like, you know, they're trying to,
well,
like, jump the curve.
they're in big trouble. You know, I have this really weird feeling
I'm so
that
glad they're in big trouble. They needed to be in big trouble.
well they're going to be coming to grips with the fact that their brand has been taken from 70% approval down to 33% approval, and it's all because they are moving away from the cultural norms. They are diving into the you know the political things that are destroying a lot of entities right now. There are a lot of corporations right now that are rethinking everything they're doing, and you know, Netflix comes to mind, of course. Hey, what's up, Channel 66? What's going on, man? But yeah, there's a lot going on right now, honestly. There really is, and Netflix. I mean, they came out with a cultural memo. Just a few
Oh
days
yeah,
later, they laid off 150 people, which is a significant portion of their, you know, a pretty decent chunk of people. You know, 4% of their staff. You know, they
yeah.
are letting go of. You know, and they're
I just wish they had kept Dark Crystal, Jupiter's Legacy, and I wish they kept Archive 81 because I really wanted to know where that was going.
again, this is the other problem. Okay, so
They cancel good shows and they keep bad ones like Big Mouth.
well, hey, yeah, well, they're done with animation now. They've eliminated their animation department. They're probably going to pull out of their game studio that they just put together. I have a feeling
Yeah.
that that's gonna go away, but it's just I think they've been coming to grips with the idea that trying to work against the cultural norms and the mainstream and everything else in order to satisfy an infinitesimally small group of humans. Let's, you know, this tiny little percentage of people, this infinitesimally small you know, percent of people that
Mm-hmm.
they've essentially, you know, torn down their business. And at the same time, they're probably also coming to grips with the fact that not only do they need commercials, but they got to get away from the binge model. For anything that hasn't already fully aired, you should not be releasing to binge format. It kills your show. It there is
Yeah, it
no
makes the shows forgettable.
and it's no staying power. And it makes the show forgettable. And that's the other problem right now is, you know, if they released Mandalorian season 1 over at Disney Plus, if they released that all at one binge, it wouldn't have been a thing. It
No,
shouldn't be a
especially since
thing
it was
because
shot as an episodic like series. Like, you know, it felt like, you know,
it
it
was a
felt like
movie.
it kind of really. I loved the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian, and that's another thing. Like, you know, I was so freaking mad with the whole Gina thing. Like, you know, I mean, this and the Vic Magana thing were like,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, so like I like Mandalorian, like, oh, I like Dragon Ball Z, like, and
Right.
then it's just, but I mean, Vic had it worse. Gina got back up on her feet right away, and and I'm
I think we're losing Dash. I think we lost Dash. But yeah, Gina did make it back up onto her feet in a lot of different ways, working with the Daily Wire. I cannot wait for my opportunity to see Terror on the Prairie. There's a lot of great things that she's putting together right now that I think a lot of people are going to be very interested in. And I'm one of those people. We've got tons of great content, I think, coming from the Daily Wire. So I think we've got a lot to look forward to. But I was live on stream with Drunk 3PO, with Jay, when we got the news that Gina had been fired. Her contract wasn't renewed. Through a spokesperson, an unanimous spokesperson, is very strange. Matt, Channel 66 says, I don't see a point in not dropping everything at once if you have it. The only reason I see a week-to-week release is to have people stay subscribed for longer. It's the same thing with any television show. Traditional releases aren't bad. It does keep your audience engaged. I mean, we didn't have a linear television model where you'd be able to, see like episodes of like F Troop, back to back to back or whatever. I mean, of course you have Nick at Night or whatever, TV Land or whatnot. But there was never any mechanism for where you were going to watch all of Hogan's Heroes or you were going to watch all of MASH. The season 1 of MASH was going to just play for 24 hours. No. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of people like the binge model, and that's great. And especially if you're, not trying to be on the hook at a streaming service for a while. But as far as the business of doing television goes, there's no better way to do it than releasing it, week by week.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see if if they do like drop the binge model and before Arcane season 2 or even like Squid Game comes out.
Yeah.
Whenever their 2 biggest hits of last year. Yeah. Like it'll be interesting to see like how the episodic thing adds to the hype of those shows, because those shows like always ended on like cliffhangers and stuff, and they were very suspenseful.
Well, I mean, Cobra Kai, right? If you dropped Cobra Kai as a weekly thing instead of a daily, instead of all at once, you are making appointment television. So Cobra Kai releases Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern. That's appointment television now.
Yeah.
Or 9
I need to watch more Cobra Kai.
Or 9 p.m. Eastern. Well, I'm just using that as an example. It's a very popular Netflix show.
Yeah. So I know. I'm on the second season. I just need to catch up. Yeah. Like, I know they're on they're going to be on season 5 soon, and they're still going. They're still chugging. That is fantastic.
Yeah, they think they have 7 in them. We'll see. But the the Terry Silver angle is going to be very interesting this season. But anyway, the really odd thing here is that if they had elected to do that with Cobra Kai from the very beginning, you would have had people that would have stuck around longer. I mean, that's to your point, Channel 66, you're not wrong there. But at the same time, you're going to keep that thing in the news for a long time. It's going to appear every Monday, every Monday night, every Tuesday morning. It would appear in the trades and the entertainment pages on every newspaper, every trade paper, everything. That would be the conversation on Tuesday. And it would be a conversation that we would all have on YouTube. and it returns to a more classic cycle where we're talking about that. Same thing with True Blood or Game of Thrones or Entourage or any of the appointment television programs that existed, prior. Band of Brothers. I mean, I can go down a list of premium television shows that people just water coolered up for. Hell,
24.
You don't even have to do that. You can go to stupid episodes of dumbass television like Seinfeld. People would talk about last night's Seinfeld episode, and it's, you didn't, Who Shot JR? 100%. All Dallas, Falcons Crests, Dynasty, the nighttime soaps that people didn't really want to call soap operas, but that's what they were. And those conversations would happen at the water cooler, right? I mean, it's, those are the kinds of things that keep something in the zeitgeist, right? It keeps it, culturally, culturally relevant, and the binge model just doesn't, in my opinion. I mean, I know it's been proven to be that way, is from the business model side of things, but as far as keeping something relevant for a long period of time, the binge model doesn't work for that. I mean, it just doesn't. And Squid Game actually probably bore that out more than anything else, because it only popped the chart for about 3.5 weeks instead of as long as the run could have been. So
you're right. It's kind of like, it's kind of already kind of like dissipated, like, and but it probably would have, like, its cultural impact probably would have stayed like a lot longer. Like, I was seeing Squid Game stuff in the mall at Christmas time. Like, that's like how big it got.
Yeah.
Like, they even had the VIP masks, like, the most disgusting characters in the entire show. They had their masks at a stand.
Yep. And again, it could have been so much bigger. It could have been for so much longer. And I just, again, I don't see a point in not doing it that way. Netflix had a great show that they had a great first season of and a terrible second season of. And Gary and I, Nerdrotic, we agree on this one. It's called Altered Carbon. Season 1, brilliant.
Oh, I've watched part of season 1.
Garbage. And I know, they couldn't bring back Joel Kinnaman, but Kinnaman was very good in that. I don't know. I mean, it is what it is.
Carbon was very interesting, and it was kind of like cool how that whole thing came out in that year. I know, I do know that Twitter did about the whole, like, being able to be any race, any gender, just being able to, like, they for some reason they didn't like that.
Oh boy. And yet here's the problem, right? Here's the problem. That's the way the books are written. I mean, and the Mets are the Mets, and the story was something that Twitter should have wrapped its arms around and given a big hug. It shouldn't have been we want to all be that's the thing is if this is really what you're shooting for, everybody to be interchangeable, that was the perfect representation of it. So F you.
I agree, Culture. I agree. Yeah, like, it was cool sci-fi. I should probably finish that. I'll start over. Because it for a Netflix show, it was kind of like really cool and cyberpunk. Yeah, I should maybe try and watch that again. The book's any good?
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. Read the books. Skip the TV show. But okay. I mean, other than the first season. But again, Channel 66 says, would a show not just being very good do more for it than keeping it artificially relevant? It's not artificially relevant. When you want something to sustain. This is one of the reasons why I think Netflix ends up canceling good shows, is because they don't stay relevant long enough. If they had employed a week-by-week model, the show would have remained relevant or more fixed in people's minds. They would have watched the show more than once, like trying to catch the nuances before the next episode. The same thing that happens with, or did happen with WandaVision for the first, 3 or 4 episodes. People are like, "Oh my gosh, did you see that? That
Yeah. The early Wanda
that thing? Did you
episodes
see
were
that?
pretty
Did you see
good.
that? Did you see the Easter egg? Did you see that? My gosh, that's Mephisto. Did you see all that stuff?"
Oh yeah,
And
Yellow Flash was so convinced it was going to be Mephisto.
me too. Me too. I mean, I was calling it out from the very beginning. Myself and Fat Steven, right? We did 2 episodes together watching the show until it started to tilt the wrong way, talking about that, right? And as much as I understand the argument that Channel 66 makes here, because that's Jeremy of Geeks and Gamers argument. It's a good show. People are going to watch it. Yeah, they're going to watch it and set it aside. And that's the problem with the binge model. You could save a lot of really good shows if you made people wait. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. I'll give you an example. Witcher could stay more interesting longer for more of the audience if it released in a week by week way. But instead, binge. The proof's in the pudding. I mean, just look at any premium show coming out of HBO.
If they had done that with Archive 81, I bet you that it would have gotten more people would have gotten into it, because that show was freaking suspenseful. I like the episode where the lady rips her face off. That was incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I'd stay engaged with properties because they're good. So I'll make it to 2 episodes, 3 episodes of something before I usually quit it. 3 episodes is usually my deal. I'll give you 3 episodes to hook me and that's it. But so you want to release it in a binge model, I'll be done with 3 episodes, and you're going to get your streaming minutes and you're going to tout that, even though that's complete bullshit because I didn't finish the show. And the same thing with with things that air week to week. It isn't going to change my viewing habit. I'm going to watch it 1 week, then I'll wait, and the next week I'll watch it, and the third week, if you haven't hooked me, I'm not going to watch anymore. But you kept me 3 weeks that way. And again, from a consumer side of things, I get the argument, binge model, but from a business side of things, it makes no sense. None.
Yeah, so I'll definitely it should be very interesting to see changes at Netflix. Hopefully positive changes, because one thing Netflix has done very good, is the anime.
Oh, we lost you again, I think.
Roll app does.
Oh, you're back. All right, go ahead. I missed whatever you said there, Dash.
Yeah. So okay. So the anime Netflix chooses to dub. Yeah, the anime Netflix chooses to import and dub. They're oftentimes really, really good. This Eden Zero. It's kind of it's very weebish anime. You probably might not like it, but it does a lot of the there's a lot of fan service in that show. It was very good animation, because the manga is from the same guy who made Fairy Tail, which had 1 billion seasons. There was also some other big anime stuff, like actual Japanese anime. I'm just trying to think, but
I want to ask you a question in that vein, if you don't mind.
Sure, go ahead.
Do you feel like they are accurate in their, I don't know if translation. Yeah, translation.
Oh yeah, the translation.
Yeah, the localization is what we call it in the gaming industry. But yeah.
Well, some of the dubs, they said things I probably was very shocked to to hear in a live action Western show sometimes. Though I do hear like, there was a instance where they got some tiger and bunny line wrong. So there's actually been like a lot of talk about like activist localizers lately in video games and anime dubbing. So, Funimation, one of the biggest dubs, became a infested hive of like, of this stuff. So like I stopped watching. So I was actually watching Crunchy, and I have to trust that they're translating everything correctly. I mean, I've had
Well,
to like do subs, but like even like the subs could be,
a lot of
so like I know Yellow Flash is very big on, piracy and fan
right,
translation and
right.
stuff. And like, I would love like accuracy. Like I think one of the biggest like grievances, like as far as activist translation, is this game called Ghostwire that came out, where they actually like took an unrelated line and actually quoted Karl Marx, and it wasn't even in context.
See, that's the kind of stuff that really bothers me. And when I because obviously, I mean, we all probably pay attention to what Yellow Flash is doing and Tug and all the other people that are
Yeah,
involved in
yeah,
that. And I
they
mean,
cover all
you
of
know,
the anime stuff.
yeah, and you got of course, bounding into comics, and Spencer's really good about that over there. And you've got so many other folks that are invested in it in our fellowship, right?
Yeah,
And it's really important for me to be accurate, and I have been consuming anime for so long that it never occurred to me that it could be inaccurate. And then when I started to hear some stuff that had more modern day language than I knew was likely to be in whatever I was being presented, I started to actually have doubts and questions. I mean, how much has changed, from what I had originally seen something. Like, for example, I mean, I talk about it all the time, but one of my favorite animes, it's kind of weebish. It's called it's called Last Exile, right? Not a lot of people
last
will
I
have heard of it. And it's incredible. It's probably one of the best I've ever, I think that has ever existed, and
I'll
yet,
have to check that out. Let me see.
yeah,
Last
and
Exile.
and yeah, Last Exile. It's beautifully done, and the voice acting is wonderful, and I just assumed that the translations were accurate, but I believe they probably were because they were done before all of this modern garbage
Yeah,
started to get
2000.
into things. Yeah.
Yeah, 2003.
So
That was when Funimation actually was starting to actually translate stuff accurately. They did. They were really good for a long time, and then they you know I it's funny. It was only like I think like after like Sony bought them, I think that they started getting really bad, from what I understand. But who knows? Like, but as far as Netflix dubs are concerned, I mean, like the jokes that were being presented in Eden Zero definitely like seemed like I couldn't even believe I was watching it on Netflix at some points. There was a tentacle joke. There was like a tentacle like you know can't the things they can't say on YouTube. But like
yeah,
there was like stuff like that there was a I don't know, definitely like so yeah, I'm currently yeah, so like normally I won't know if something's been messed with unless Bounding or Yellow Flash or even Very Dark like brings it to my attention. Oh,
I just don't, like I said. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me to change the context of something that's created in another country in a particular form of entertainment.
no,
I
it
think that
doesn't. It's only
I think that's criminal. That's just my opinion.
yeah,
But
I mean, before they used to do that because like 4 Kids Entertainment literally brought the anime and made it more kid friendly. You know, that
Right.
was their thing. That their whole, it's for kids. It's in the title. You know, like that. So like a lot of anime, I was introduced. Like I did, you know, I mean, even I knew like as a kid that like some things were off. Like you know that they weren't like they were skirting around the concepts of
Certain
death.
things. Yeah. Yeah. They do that a little
Like,
bit in Last Exile, by the way. So, yeah.
who knows? Channel 6 says he loves the Four Kids opening to One Piece. That was one thing. Four Kids made some really great music that was superior in some cases to the actual anime.
That's
They
amazing.
would, yeah, I know the Sailor Moon, the original dub of Sailor Moon, like like it had superior transformation music, even though like they skirted they changed things like to make it more kid friendly, like they turned the lesbian couple into cousins and stuff like that. But like the transformation music is like the Dick's transformation music for Sailor Moon is like arguably more iconic. Like I only just casually watched the show when it was on
Right.
Toonami, and even I like that it brings nostalgia to my ears hearing it.
Right. If so, with all that being said, I mean, obviously, Netflix is kind of like being, the center of this kind of a conversation, and we know that they're making some changes there. Do
Yeah,
you think that that will be good for, well, not just anime, of course, but the other content that they're actually showing? Do you think they're going to start, being a little bit more broad in what they're
I think so.
presenting to an audience?
I think so. I mean, everything from I read the New York Post article, and it seems like it seems like they realize that they need like to target specific like things. So you might get like you'll get something for the woke, and then you'll get something like for the weebs, and then you'll get something for like maybe the fantasy people, and then like they, I mean, that's how they should have been doing it this entire time instead of trying to like make everything for everyone and just making it boring.
Yeah, I think they had been doing it that way for a very long time. I think it was a fairly recent phenomena in the last 6 to 8 years where they changed the direction they were putting things, and all of these entities use the same methodology to make decision making, which is the problem. They have faulty logic built into their decision making process. And so that's how you end up with, the tail wagging the dog in all of these big corps and the country as a whole.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
actually, the new topic that just
yeah,
came up recently.
yeah.
So did you see Elon's tweets about ESG?
Oh, yeah. I thought it was great. By the way, your video was brilliant. I watched that already. So there we go.
Oh, thank you. That was a quick minute thing I did.
Yeah.
I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, I
Okay.
enjoyed it and I did see it. And, he's not wrong. My thoughts on ESG have always been the same. It's unsustainable because it does not take into consideration the only consideration that you're supposed to have as a corporation, which is the duty to shareholders to maximize profit, return, and revenue for the corporation and the shareholders, and to increase and sustain shareholder value. ESG does none of those things. And as a matter of fact, it's used as a crutch on the banking side of things to essentially give money to entities that otherwise would not survive. You're
Yeah.
loaning money to a company that is not profitable and likely never will be. That's
Yeah. So
that's
like
that's
it
that's
seems
banking
like
welfare.
you're essentially you're
Go ahead.
essentially
I'm sorry.
bribing every company to be woke, and then you have certain companies almost like dependent on that so they can
Yeah.
ignore what their customers actually want. But the thing is, like, if every company does that, you're even like something as wealthy as BlackRock isn't going to be able to
Well,
sustain that.
yeah. Yeah, BlackRock, Vanguard, I mean, State Street. We can go down them all if you want to,
Oh,
but
so there's several. I thought that they
yeah,
were the only ones. I know it's a deep rabbit hole. I know it's
yeah,
like ultra
yeah. There's
political, like, but
yeah,
I do
yeah.
know that it seems to be like what's sustaining a lot of this stuff from passing.
Well, and as this is the interesting thing. So you can get away with that for a certain period of time, but then when you have states openly revolting against it, like Florida and some other states are doing, you're going to see that repeated. So in states that are not necessarily on board with having corporations run everything, they're going to move their pension fund money away from these corporations that utilize ESG in any form. Then
Ooh.
you will have the states start to regulate banking in their state, which will not allow for ESG to be utilized in any way. And if they are caught doing it, they will be subjected to financial penalties. The federal level has been attempted a couple of times now. They went back to the drawing board. We're about to see legislation come out in the next session after the midterms that will essentially, not allow. Will do what the federal government is supposed to have been doing from the very beginning, which will essentially prevent banks from making decisions based on ESG. And if they're caught doing it, they could get into a lot of financial trouble. So
That is interesting.
there's a lot of leverage going on in the background. But there's only a handful of people that are going to support it. The problem is the number of corrupted politicians that are corrupted by the big money. But you know what? The states aren't there yet. And and state governments are so easy to change. Most people are going to go back to focusing local. And eventually the federal government will catch up because they will quickly markedly become less relevant. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Like the states seem to be like really leading the charge against like, a lot of like this stuff. And it's been really cool to see. Like, I tried to, like in my, I dipped out of like politics and stuff, like, after 2020 and for my own, like my own mental health.
Sanity.
And so I just so I like, just focusing on entertainment. But now, like, I do feel this positive shift happening, and suddenly things don't seem like so bad anymore. And it's been great.
They aren't, because you brought up the fact that of that tweet that you cited in the video you just made, which I suggest everybody who sees this should go look at that video. It's very good. It's short, doesn't take very long, but it's he says he's been saying a lot of things surrounded these subjects over the course of the last few days that are very, very worth everybody consuming and understanding. This is a person who, is calling out ESG, environmental social governance crap.
No one but you guys has done this.
He is the number one company on the planet when it comes to all of these thought processes involved in sustainability, yada, yada, garbage, right? Which we all know is crap because, if you've ever seen the strip mining required to just get the elements necessary to produce the battery for some of these cars, you'll be able to call any environmentalist out on their baloney sausage. But, it is, as far as their metrics work, this guy is the most important person. And he's not even represented anywhere in the ESG scores. That's garbage.
Yeah, that is very, very suspicious. Like what he said about Exxon being like
in the top 10. In the top 10. Yeah, I mean, it is one of those weird things that an oil company is considered more environmentally friendly or conscious than, or it's actually conscious, environmentally conscious than the guy that is the greatest producer of electric vehicles, solar, long-term heavy-duty batteries, Tesla power walls associated with solar collection, the Boring Company, SpaceX. I mean, this is a guy who understands, the environment in various different ways. Reusable rocket ships is something that we've needed since forever, and this guy made them.
He's a brilliant guy. Like, I mean, I've only known about him for like a couple of years, but just like, I mean, he sent his freaking car to space.
Yeah, I mean, not only that. I mean, he's going to be changing terraforming, or I guess technically.
Yeah, now that is the future of the human race right there, terraforming.
Yeah, he's going to be littering Mars with tunnels. The Boring Company is 100% related to SpaceX. All of these things are interconnected. What he's doing here is interconnected with what's going to be done on another planet. He's basically building all of the utility and building up the utility here that can now be replicated on another planet, because there are mining elements on the planet ready to go for production of electric cars, batteries, solar, yada yada. This is a person who gets it.
Oh yeah, he's thinking like everyone. No one else is thinking that far ahead, and they should be.
There should be. Yeah, and again, I mean, I like to look at him as like, what's the roadmap for where he's going in 10 years? He's when you think about, there's not been a lot of visionaries in our history, in our recent history, right? There's a handful.
Yeah, no.
Most people are most familiar with probably Walt Disney, right?
Yeah, he was a big guy. He was a big drive on our culture. Positive. Yeah. Another fellow dyslexic like myself.
Yeah.
He was, a great anti-communist.
Yeah. And a visionary. The guy honestly figured out a way for everybody to live in a more environmentally sustainable thing before we even cared about that. His
Disney
ideas
and what he built. And it's been so sad to see what's happened to his creation.
And I would love to go into that. Maybe have me back sometime. We can talk about the slow destruction of the Disney company. But
any time to bash Disney is a good day for me.
Well, I'm good at it because, again, when you've loved something for so long, in so many ways, been involved in it in so many different ways, it's really easy to poke holes in the balloon. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Anyway, I know you have to go. But, thank you so much for coming on my show. I'll definitely have you on again.
I'm thrilled. I really appreciate the invitation, Dash. This was a lot of fun. Hopefully we get a chance to get some people to watch the episode and to check out today's video that you did. Because like I said, the last few that I've been watching you do, I've really enjoyed. So thanks for making them. Appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. Take care, man.
You betcha. Thanks.